ripping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, to this fine radio show, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. It's show number 432, and welcome to it. You realize that means we've been doing this show for like a few years.
Yes. That puts us almost exactly halfway to 500.
It's
by
good.
The way.
And
I've done the math.
I appreciate you doing the math because
Yeah.
it's not a strong suit for
Liberty,
me.
by the way.
Yeah. So it's always good to know there's someone in the room who can count.
That's right.
And that's very important. Well, welcome to the program. We are excited about today's show for a number of reasons, but we're going to talk about two of my favorite things on the show today: budget-friendly cigars and Still Austin whiskey.
Nice.
I'm really, really psyched about this because James Caronna is here with us from Still Austin. James, welcome.
How are you? Good to see you again.
Good to have you back in the studio.
Absolutely.
It took me a while to get him back. He's finally recovered from last night.
Yeah, I'm finally sober from the last one.
It was quite a show. It was quite a show, and I think today will be no different. Only this time, one thing that will be different is we are on some new radio stations. We want to welcome some new stations to the fold. We talked about this a little bit last week, but it's kind of a big deal. So welcome to WDEL AM and FM in Wilmington, Delaware, WICC AM in Bridgeport, Connecticut, WFOX FM in Southport, Connecticut.
That's easy for you to say.
The Danbury area. And also welcome to KFTK in St. Louis, 97.1 FM. And a big welcome to our new affiliate in our own hometown, KFNC ESPN Radio Houston. So
That's awesome.
We're on the air on all of those stations and a number of other places. And we're just excited to see the show kind of growing a little bit and popping up in different areas across the country. This is exciting for us, and in several of these markets, I actually was on the radio there, so it's kind of cool to be back on. Except this time talking about much cooler stuff.
Right.
Why talk about Katy Perry when you can talk about Still Austin?
That's better,
there you
especially
have it.
What
now.
I'm saying. That's why I'm saying.
She's having a bad moment. We're having a good one.
Yeah,
So.
so it's not a bad time to be Still Austin. Now, I don't want to speak out of turn. But when James came in before we started the show, he was still on his company conference call, and I was over cleaning out some of the glasses from the stuff that we did last week. And I didn't really mean to eavesdrop, but I'll just say this. Sounds like you guys are doing well.
It's going very well.
It was a very, a lot of company conference calls right now are like, okay, things are slowing down. We don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. So all I was hearing was how much percentage growth they'd had over the last quarter.
That's awesome.
And that's, so congratulations to you guys.
It's all me, 100%.
To be honest, I'm not super surprised because, you're a relatively new whiskey on the market, and the juice is so good that
I don't know
it
how
is.
you guys do it. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, on the program today. And we'll talk about some budget-friendly cigars. We do want to thank our special guests from last week's show, Roberto Villar and David Fowler from the Spirit Box and Reserve 101, and of course our friend from Herradura Tequila, who is here to, make the day even
Will
more
Brooks,
interesting.
that guy is
Will is just
gold,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, absolutely wonderful. Well, I have a little something different today for the beverage of mystery. So Terry, if I could have you go ahead and bring us our beverage of mystery
We're gonna
intro,
go ahead and bomb
we'll
it out
get
now.
started with the bomb right here. That wasn't it, but I liked it.
That was
whatever it was, I liked it. I liked it.
The beverage of mystery.
The beverage of mystery is where one of us will bring a beverage of some sort in. Sometimes it's something good. Sometimes it's something not so good. But the idea is we taste it and we talk about it before anybody who knows what it is, other than the person what brung it, is aware of what it is. So let's see what you guys think
I
about.
notice you bring a lot of these. Are you doing that on purpose?
No. In fact, if anybody wants some, questionable hard seltzers, my beer fridge is packed with them because there are times when I had to buy like a 4-pack or a 6-pack in order to have one to bring in for the beverage of mystery. So
That's how they get you.
yeah, that's how they get you. So
Next thing you know, your girl drunk.
So yeah, that's right. That's right. And you've got this aspartame taste that you just can't get rid of. I don't think you're going to get
This
aspartame.
smells saison.
I was gonna say it's a saison, right?
Yeah,
Some Belgian yeast for
it's
sure.
got a little funky going on.
Got a little
to it.
funk to it. Let's see. I brought this one for a very specific reason. So taste it and tell me what you think.
Tastes like Belgium.
Golden strong.
Yeah? Do you like it?
It's one of those easier drinkers, but it's like 19%. Is that what it is?
It's good.
If Ian had brought it, you could safely guess that it would in fact be 19%. So the reason that I brought this one is I want to talk a little bit about how tastes can change over time. And that's the only hint I'll give you until Ian asks me the magical question.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
Well, it's not a beverage of mystery in my pocket because I put it back into my beverage case here, and it sank to the bottom. So I have.
Then we don't actually want to know what's in your pocket.
You absolutely don't. Presenting to you today's beverage of mystery from Victory Brewing in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, the Golden Monkey.
I always like Golden Monkey.
great.
It is a Belgian style triple.
Always like Golden Monkey.
Now I think I've told this story on the air before, but when I lived in the Pennsylvania area, and my good friend Dave Murphy, who's been on the show with us before, lived in that area also, we would go and buy, like if we were having a party or a get-together, we would go and buy some of these mix packs from Victory Brewing. And they had their, wonderful IPA in there and great lagers, and they had a porter that was really good, I believe. And it would always have Golden Monkey. And both Dave, my friend, and I were not fond of the Golden Monkey. So he had this huge beer fridge down in his basement, and over time it became all Golden Monkey.
I would have loved
because
that.
because neither one of us cared for it, and even people who came over and asked for a beer, we'd always try to pawn off the Golden Monkey on them. But one of the reasons that I brought it is that since we've been doing the show for 432 episodes, we've tasted a lot of beers, a lot of different styles, and I have to say, I now kind of like the Golden Monkey. And so I wanted to point that out because this is how much a person's taste can change over time. And I want to encourage people, if you've tried something a long time ago, the first time I tried Lawnmower from St. Arnold, I wasn't a fan. Now it's one of my favorite beers that they make.
I was the same way with H-Town. I didn't really like H-Town the very first time I tried it. And now I think it's okay.
Well, I'm enjoying the Golden Monkey now, and I've enjoyed it. As we've had other Belgian doubles and triples on the show, it's been a fun way to sort of explore the style, and I think that's like
it's about experience too. Like because when we're younger, we don't have a whole lot of beer experience. So when we taste something that's that different, because that is very, very different from
if you're
anything you would have,
particularly
on the mainstream market.
Yeah, particularly if you've kind of just gotten into craft beer, coming over from drinking more mainstream beer. It's a way to.
That's like diving into the peaty side of Scotch first, right?
Right. The first Scotch
it's
you
a
ever
little
have
extreme.
the first Scotch you ever have is Lagavulin or something.
Right.
That was me and Lefroy. That was the first one.
You're like, whoa,
What
is going on here? Yeah.
But as you expand and you start sampling like different styles of beer, and you maybe have tasted a few triples before, and then you try this, you go, okay, well, I get what it's doing now.
Right. Yeah.
Because sometimes we just don't understand what it's doing. Like the first time I tried Zima, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
The second time when they re-released it, I tried it and I thought to myself, no, it's still bad.
It's
So that's an exception,
Well, one of the things
Not sure why I told that story.
but I get the truth of it. I really do. But one of the things I wanted to point out here, and one of the reasons I wanted to do the Golden Monkey as the beverage of mystery that I brought today, is I'd like to begin to move away from this perception that I believe you guys have that I always bring in bad stuff for the beverage of mystery. So this
I
is
don't know
not-
why we started calling you the Malort man.
Well, okay, speaking of, we have to talk about this. Okay? Everyone is aware, I'm sure.
You know when your boss goes, we have to talk. I feel a little trepidation here. This is not the beginning of a good conversation.
Well, this is not about you.
Oh.
It's about your relationship with the Pope.
Okay.
We have a new Pope, as anyone
Yes.
who's watched
Oh,
any
yes.
news coverage in the last couple of weeks knows. And the new Pope is the first American Pope
Yes.
of all time. And so
USA.
that's, right.
And he addressed, interestingly enough, his first address, he did the Latin thing.
Yeah.
Was in Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish and
I think it did some Italian.
and
as well.
Latin or Italian, too,
I think it was Latin. But then it was like a big chunk of it was in Spanish.
I
So
understand.
American speaking Spanish. There you go.
I understand some Americans, though, are upset about that. He's American. How come he's speaking Spanish?
Oh, come on, get over yourselves.
Anyway, my point is that our new Pope is now, of course, living at the Vatican, but he's from Chicago. He's apparently a fan of many things Chicago. And I read, and I don't know whether the author of the article that I read has evidence of this or whether they're merely speculating because he's from Chicago. But the article I read actually said that the new Pope likes Malort.
Whoa.
That's gonna raise their whole. Like, they're gonna have to hire at least 3 new people,
Whoa.
Can
and
you
then they'll
imagine-
have a whole workforce of 7 or something.
Right. So I can see him at the Vatican, right? Stuff comes in from his old stomping grounds, and he's walking around malorting the other cardinals. Can you see that happening? I can totally see that happening. We turned malort into a verb after Ian brought it in and malorted me not once,
Twice.
but twice. Yes. So
I'm a fan. I love Malort.
do you really, like,
I
seriously?
know, and I'm not saying that to be.
You probably
cool
like
and
pineapple
hipster.
on pizza too. There's
No,
something
I'm
suspect about you.
I was gonna say I'm Italian. I absolutely do not like pineapple on pizza. I like Malort. It's bitter as hell, and I enjoy that.
It is bitter.
It's
yes.
like drinking crushed up wormwood.
the
you
bitter.
know?
The bitter is strong in this one.
Yeah. But I just thought, if we really do have a pope that loves
Wow.
Malort, that's way more, changing. That's way more life changing than just the fact that he's American.
I think St. Peter was the first pope of the Catholic Church. So what a long way we have come from someone who was St. Peter to now is a fan of Malort and Ditka.
Yeah, right.
What are the odds that he
Bears.
switches the communion to Malort?
Wouldn't that be?
They are
you
daily
see-
Malort.
Can you see the entire church taking communion, drinking from the cup, and making that Malort face?
See, I
All
went to
at once?
Catholic school. I grew up in Catholic school. That would be scary.
Yeah, it would be pretty scary. Well, if he does in fact love Malort, this will be just completely religion changing, I think, for a lot of people. And can you imagine the sales of Malort jumping?
They're going to have to hire like 3 more people at that factory.
Exactly.
Because I think just a few years ago there were really only 2 people that worked at Malort.
Yeah.
Now you can fact
were
check me,
2
but I'm
people
not
that worked
joking.
at
Right?
Malort.
Like literally, it was like 2 or 3 people that
the Malort,
made this
the
thing.
Malort parking lot was just a little parking meter on the side of the street there in Chicago. It's
Like Cartman and Kenny making sandwiches.
That's right. That's right. In addition to
It's a little bigger than a
not-
lemonade stand.
In addition to not having Malort on the program today, we do have some beers that I hope will be better than Malort. Hop Fusion Ale Works Feisty Redhead is a Hibiscus Cherry Blonde. We'll be trying that. We'll be trying the Royale with Nelson Hazy IPA from Bare Bottle Brewing Company and from Pasa, Robles, California, and Firestone Walker. We're going to be tasting their 28th anniversary ale that came out in 2024.
Nice.
So very, very excited about that. Plus, as if all of that weren't enough, Still Austin is in the house. And all of the Still Austin that I took home after that show last time is gone.
Same here.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be able to taste some of it again. And we will do that as the program continues. Plus, drinking news, the drunken fact, all coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I'm going to get to the drink.
I'm supposed to have the video on you, but I just have it on Ian, just bopping his head.
Oh, I like
Come
it.
on, man. That song is groovy.
I like it. I think it is. I think it is absolutely wonderful, and I appreciate your. That's just using your judgment on the camera cut. So I do appreciate that. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, by the way, if you're hearing us on radio or on an audio podcast, Smoking and Toasting is available on YouTube, the whole video thing, so you can see, our smiling faces and our reaction to things that we try and a few other things. It's worth checking out the video version of the podcast. Find Smoking and Toasting on YouTube. All right,
Put it on in the background while you have a fire going.
Yeah.
Create the mood. Like, really make it nice.
Right, for a good romantic evening.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand our affiliate in Houston is airing the show from like 7 to 9 p.m.
That's
on
perfect
Friday
for a
nights.
date.
And I was like,
Yeah.
perfect.
Perfect
That's
for a date,
daytime,
yeah.
baby.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. All right, I want to get to the drunken fact here in just a moment, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to give the drunken fact teaser headline. So our drunken fact teaser headline for today is... It's a bird. It's a plane. It's what? And we'll also get to drinking news in the second hour of the show. And our drinking news teaser headline is... It's funny to watch you do face licks when you play the ukulele.
That's why I keep cutting to
That's
him.
not the teaser headline. The teaser headline is, gee, your car smells weird. So we'll get to all of that in a few moments. And we have Ian's cigar review and maybe even a little whiskey tasting coming up. But first, Terry, it's time for the Drunken Fact.
And now it's time for another Smoking and Toasting Drunken Fact.
So the Drunken Fact started out as the drinking fact, but we kind of exhausted all of the unusual facts that I could find about drinking. So now it's the Drunken Fact. It's just an odd fact from somewhere.
There wasn't that many facts about drinking.
You'll enjoy it most if you've been, drinking, and it allows us to continue to play the fanfare at the end, which is the whole reason for doing this segment. So today's Drunken Fact, which we know was true because we found it on the internet. Today's Drunken Fact is... The official bird of Redondo Beach, California is the Goodyear blimp.
What?
The city passed a resolution making it so in 1983. They decreed that the official bird of the city of Redondo Beach, California is the Goodyear blimp.
Wow.
That's a funny little bird.
That's amazing.
That's a funny big bird.
Do you remember when there was a Goodyear blimp base that was up in Spring here for all those years? When I grew up, you would see the blimp just flying all over Houston all the time
That's
for no
pretty
apparent
cool.
purpose. Yeah, there was,
it's like, I'm going to take her out for a spin, George.
Yeah, and the last thing it was ever used for, there was so much space in it, was that when Phil Collins did some huge comeback tour thing in like 92 or something, that's where he set up the original stage and practiced, was in the Goodyear blimp.
The Goodyear blimp. Yeah. You gotta love that. You gotta love that. That could have been a drunken fact all its own. Phil Collins. So you got two for the price of one.
There
And
you
now,
go. That's
drunken
right. There we
facts,
go.
and we just let Terry start talking.
I think it deserves to at least play the fanfare one more time. We should start playing that after everything
Has
we
anyone
do on
figured
the
out
show.
what Susudio is about, by the way?
No.
Does anybody have any
If
idea?
he doesn't know, we
If,
don't.
if you do, our email address is snt@rfcmedia.com. Ian, did you have a chance to smoke anything interesting this week?
You know, it's funny you should ask. I
Yep.
did. I went out to my patio last night after digging in my humidor and found a beautiful La Gloria Cabano, Los Gloriosos.
Los Gloriosos, which I
Yes.
believe means the Gloriosos.
You translated it perfectly. This
Okay,
was a 6x50 Toro. This is actually an EPC collaboration.
Oh, nice.
Ernesto Perez Carrillo collabed with La Gloria Cabana and created this Ecuadorian Habano wrapper with the Nicaraguan Jalapa binder, Nicaraguan Jalapa, Condego, and Dominican Republic filler. The appearance on this medium brown wrapper, uneven texture with some veins, leathery and oily to the touch, firm feel overall. La Gloria band in kind of blue and gold there, and then right underneath it has a gold band that says Los Gloriosos, and then a silk footer on the bottom. Don't light that when you're lighting a cigar. Pre-light sniff on this. Earth and barnyard with coffee and a hint of cocoa. The pre-light draw used a punch. Had a very light draw to it. Mucho mocha. Un poquito coffee. I don't know why that part's in Spanish. The initial light on, literally it's the only part on here that I did. There's no theme or anything.
You became the Pope for a moment, and
Just for a brief moment.
Yeah.
The initial light on this chocolate covered Nicaraguan pepper blast.
Nice. A chocolate
covered Nicaraguan pepper blast.
I love it.
It was pretty amazing. Leathery and earthy. The first third of this full body, spicy and sweet with black pepper, mocha, leather, and some sweet, and some underlying earth. The Retro Hill is sweet espresso and a touch of pepper. Solid ash, good burn. Proposed pairing, barley wine.
Oh, well, but you propose that for a pairing with every cigar you smoke.
Yeah, kind of. Barley wine or porter or some kind of funky Jamaican rum is what I put down. Now, I did actually have a barley wine at the house, so I paired this with
Surprise.
a barley wine.
Was it a barley wine that was like really meant to be shared with like 3 or 4 people, and you drank the whole thing yourself?
No, it was just one can. It was just one 16-ounce.
Okay, fair enough.
18%.
Yeah.
So that's one person, right? The second third of this, sweet mocha and espresso set the theme on this, followed by leather and spice. A sweet brownie batter note weaves throughout. Retro Hill is sweet espresso and spice, solid ash, good burn.
Nice.
The last third of the cigar, a bit of creamy chocolate sneaks in, and the spice ramps up a touch. Retro Hill is spicy and sweet, solid ash, good burn. Comes in at $9.
Okay.
At
It's
$9,
a Toro, right?
This is a 6x, so it's a
Yeah.
pretty decent size cigar. So this was 6x50 at $9. This gets a 6.5, solid 6.5.
Oh, wow.
Because
Very nice.
this thing was fantastic. I
Well,
will be buying more and more of these.
Our
all
price
day
to
long.
quality scale, for those who are new to the show, is a 1 to 10 scale, but a 5 means you got what you paid for. So anytime something ranks above a 5, that means, you not that you want to pay more for it, but if you had, you wouldn't have been disappointed.
It's easily smoked, as good as cigars that I've paid 12 or more for, and absolutely
Wonderful.
6.5.
Tell you about my cigar from this week, and we'll get into some whiskey tasting when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. I didn't hear any of that. It was
I
almost
didn't
like
either, yeah.
it was almost like your mic was turned off. You want to try again? There we go. We got a little, all right. Very good. And those of you who are new to the show, you should be aware that here at Smokin' and Toastin', we spare every expense when it comes to sound effects.
Yes.
Not that we spare no expense, we spare every expense. And so we create these sound effects live on the program.
When you hear us open a bottle of whiskey, we do not use a pre-recorded
That's right.
sound effect. We actually will open a bottle of whiskey right here on the air
I will say that
in real time.
I will say that the fanfare for the Drunken Fact, that is pre-recorded.
That is pre-recorded, yes.
But if I could ever get that little group of musicians in here to play that live, I would so do that, because that would be even more awesome.
We need to fit a whole horn section in here.
Yeah. Preferably like a junior high school band horn section,
Yeah, that'll fit in here.
Wouldn't that be great? I would love that. So let me tell you about the cigar that I had this week while we get ready to sample some whiskey here from Still Austin. I smoked one that was a little bit different and very interesting. I smoked
The hesitation when you say that is
yeah. Well, it's
intriguing.
like we've talked about this on the show before. When you tell somebody that something was interesting, usually not good things follow, right? If you go on vacation someplace and go, "Hey, how was that place that you stayed? Did you like it?" If you say it was interesting, that usually doesn't mean that some great, wonderful story about how great of a time you had is going to follow. But we'll see.
It was interesting.
We'll see if my interesting cigar is something that follows in that. As Monty Python's Flying Circus used to put it. And now for something completely different. This week I smoked Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust's Stillwell Star English number 27, which is easy for me to say.
right.
I did not know at the time that I picked it up from the humidor at Nice Ash here in Houston. What an unusual cigar this Toro-shaped, Toro-sized Star English number 27 actually was. In fact, when this cigar was first released, its creator dubbed it the most controversial cigar of 2021. And that's because the filler in the Star English is primarily pipe tobacco.
Really?
Yeah. Steve Saka is Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust founder and blender, and he's been an avid pipe smoker for more than 30 years. It's something that he really enjoys, and he's also been crafting handmade cigars using pipe tobacco for his personal consumption for many years. So Saka contacted Jeremy Reeves, the head blender of pipe tobacco company Cornell and Deal, who is also a cigar smoker, and they collaborated on a cigar that uses both cigar and pipe tobacco to try and create the world's first luxury pipe tobacco cigar. Usually pipe tobacco cigars are cheaper ones that you
Black
buy
and mild.
at the drugstore. Right,
Black and Mild is a pipe tobacco cigar.
This cigar uses an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, a dark San Andres binder, and then the filler is Nicaraguan tobacco, along with burley, Turkish, and Cypriot Latakia pressed cake. So, if you're a pipe smoker, you may be familiar with those last
That's
three,
a pretty complex blend.
and you're likely wondering how this is all going to turn out. So let's start with the pre-light aromas. The pre-light sniff gave me deep fermented notes of earth with the pipe tobacco very clearly evident. A little bit of funky barnyard and that library smell is what I call it. That
Dusty
comes
tome.
from pipe tobacco. Yes, absolutely.
Dusty
I
tome,
used
sir.
a punch to open up the top, and the cold draw was significantly less about pipe tobacco, although there was still a hint of it, as well as a little bit of tangy pepper on the tongue. The real story I figured would emerge once I lit it up, and I have to say my initial reaction was a surprise. I had expected the Star English to lean a little more towards the pipe tobacco flavors, particularly from what it smelled like on the pre-light sniff, but they were actually very subtle all the way through the first third. The draw was a little tight, but the burn was nice and even, and the flavor profile was rich and earthy with hints of pepper and tea leaf. Now, I'll be honest, if I didn't know that the blend used pipe tobacco, and if I hadn't taken the time to do the pre-light sniff, I'm not sure I would have noticed it, at least during the first third. It's not nearly as prominent as, say, when you smoke like a Deadwood from Drew Estate
Right.
or something like that. The ash held on for more than an inch from the initial light, and once I flicked it off and headed toward the second third, the pipe tobacco notes did start to become a little more noticeable. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Creamy fruit and berry notes blended with the earth and pepper. But it stayed that way, or they stayed rather enough in the background that they did not take over the profile of the cigar. Final third steered back away from the fruity notes just slightly and smoked a lot more like a typical cigar, except for a light hint of that super aromatic pipe tobacco, particularly on the finish. Suggested pairing, and I did not actually try this, so I could be way off, but the next time I smoke one of these, I want to have it with a Saison or a farmhouse ale.
Oh, yeah?
Something like the Jester King 10th Anniversary Saison or Clover from Hill Farmstead Brewery. I think it would go. Somehow that was what my palate seemed to be telling me. Construction was good despite a tighter draw, and when all was said and done, to be completely honest, I enjoyed the Dunbarton Stillwell Star English number 27 a lot more than I expected to. Price-wise, these babies clock in at about $15 to $16 per stick, which for me at least bumps them into super premium
Yes,
territory.
yes.
And I was really at kind of a loss to establish price to quality on this one, because at that price, you're in the category with some pretty impressive smokes. So what I finally arrived at is this. You really should try this cigar. And I really enjoyed it. So at $15 to $16, I'm going to give it a 5, but only for the first one of these that you try. Whether any of these after that first one trends more toward a 6 or a 4 will have to do with your particular taste. But definitely worth it to try this cigar, because it's super different, but
Fairly said, sir.
it's not as pipe tobacco-y as you might expect, which is why I think I liked it. Not that I don't enjoy pipe tobacco, but it's not necessarily what I'm looking for when I light a cigar.
Well, also, like I think you like a lot of more aromatic pipe tobaccos versus more. It sounds like more English style,
Right.
Pipe tobacco.
That's true. I do lean towards the aromatic when I'm smoking my pipe. So, anyway, there you go. That was my take on it, and I thought it was definitely interesting. I don't know that I'll be buying more.
You have moved me. I will next time I go in there. I will try that. I will pick up one.
It's worth trying. It really is. Speaking of worth trying, look what's sitting in front of us. Oh boy!
I've been doing research.
And I got a decent pour this time, which is just absolutely. Usually, for some reason, my pour usually winds up being a little shorter when we have a whiskey guest, and I don't know if that's trying to tell me something? I don't know. But,
Are you talking about when I pour it?
Yes.
Oh, totally intentional.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Completely intentional.
Well, thankfully, James poured this, so I got a nice little bit of this. Now,
I got
this
a
is-
heavy pour.
This is your base, your
This is our flagship
flagship,
bourbon.
right?
Yep.
So I'm going to hold this up for the camera. Straight bourbon whiskey, still Austin. The girl who's strumming her hair like a guitar. You've seen this image before if you've seen a still Austin bottle. But this is, what does this retail for?
You'll find that on the shelf, basically every liquor store in Texas, anywhere from 38 to 42.
So not an, oh man, that's so good. I just took that first sip.
Cinnamon
So
bomb.
good. It is a cinnamon bomb. So for our listeners who are outside of Texas, obviously in Texas you can find this. Is there a way to get this if you're outside of the Lone Star State?
Yeah, quick flight to Tech. No, we're in. We're in.
I'm just going to say that it might be worth it, guys.
Yeah, honestly, we're in 4 states total. So
Okay.
total distribution, you can find us everywhere: bars, restaurants, liquor stores. Outside of that, we're in essentially every state that Total Wine is in. So if you got a
Okay.
Total
So you
Wine
got a
there,
Total
you
Wine.
can buy us
And
at
they're
the
in a
Total
number.
Wine.
They're in a
Yeah.
number of states.
Yeah,
So-
we're like 30 something, over 30 something states just in Total Wine.
And so this is so interesting to me because it seems like you guys have taken off so quickly. Is it difficult to get into other states other than your, I mean, is that a process that's kind of like, I remember I moved to Florida and just changing my car registration was such a hassle that I kept Texas plates on it until I moved out of Florida. We drove it back to Texas to renew them, I think. But is it that way with spirits and with whiskey? Is it a difficult process to get into other states?
What's funny you say, like, relatively new. We started 10 years ago. I will say that we launched this in 2020, so in my opinion, we are still relatively new to the market as far as this bottle goes and this packaging. The hard part is honestly meeting demand. You got to have a lot of whiskey. I've seen a lot of brands expand too quick, and then they can't meet demand of their home market. So it's like you can't even buy the own whiskey in the own city where it was founded.
And that's
We
where you're
didn't
going
wanna
to
do
sell
that.
the most, obviously, because
100%.
people
A
know you.
lot.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do that, so slow growth is the way to go. When you can afford to spend some money either repping the brand there or putting someone in there full time. So we launched Colorado not too long ago. We were big enough that we could afford to put a full-time guy in Colorado.
Right.
So
And so he's the guy that's going to help establish the relationship with the retail stores.
manages all the sales
Go
there,
in
yeah.
and do, tastings and other things like that so people can try it and go, wow, it's a cinnamon bomb,
Yeah.
and
so good.
And if you like that in your bourbon and your whiskey, this is just a wonderful example of that. And what is the alcohol percentage on
it's just under 100. It's about
just
98,
under 100? Okay. Very good.
98.4, I think, on this bottle.
I got to tell you, this is just
It's really smooth for
yes, it
almost
is.
100 proof whiskey.
It's got a little bite to it, but
Is
it
this-
does not interfere with it being smooth on the way
Is
down.
this the base distillate for all the whiskeys? All the
Yeah, so our core line is essentially 2 ryes, 2 bourbons. So
Right.
we have this straight bourbon, then we have the cask strength version of that. So same mash bill, but it's going to be 116 proof. And then our rye is 100% rye. So this is going to be 70% white corn, 25 rye, 5 malted barley. Our ryes are just 100% of the same rye that goes into this guy.
wow.
Does your ryes are spicy?
And how,
I like
much
our
rye
ryes
is
a
in
lot.
this?
25%, which is pretty high rye.
Well, I think it's part of
bourbon.
the reason for the spiciness on the finish. Is just it's got that little bit. I really like rye, so this profile really kind of works for me because you've got that cinnamon bomb vibe to it, but then you get just that little bit of spice on the finish that really makes it work for me, just for where my palate
We
is for
use
whiskey.
we use a really unique species of rye that not a lot of people are using for whiskey in general.
Where is it grown?
So 100% of our grain is grown in Texas. We don't use any grain for our whiskey that's grown outside the state. This bourbon is white corn, and then our rye is a species called Brisetto rye, which is very cool. So the notes you're picking up on are those notes of rye. We get 0 of that black pepper, like a classic rye.
Right.
And you get a lot of baking spice, so cinnamon, clove, kind of allspice. It comes through a little bit on this guy.
Really like this. Really like this a lot.
You know,
And-
you talk about, okay, you guys have been around for 10 years, but you guys have been putting
Yeah,
out
the
good
company.
whiskey for a while, and I don't know how a company that's putting out whiskey that young can be so good. Like, what's the age on this bottle?
You could be north of 3 on this guy.
Like, and it's this good.
Yeah.
Every
we
single
gotta.
time.
So
It's
Because
so
seriously,
fantastic.
you can think about rums and even tequilas being really impressive at 3 years. But whiskey, you usually don't think a 3-year-old expression is going to have this kind of complexity and smoothness.
So that's changing a lot. Same thing with the identity of Texas whiskey in general. Now, if you say young whiskey's not good and Texas whiskey isn't good, that just shows me you have no idea what you're talking about.
No.
That used to be true maybe 10 years ago, not anymore. We have a couple unique things that make us special, I think, in regards to why our whiskey tastes so good at a slightly younger age. For one, we're using Texas grain. It grows here. It's used to the climate. Outside of that, our elevage system, we're proofing down the whiskey barrels themselves rather than pulling our whiskey, making our blend, and adding water to get the proof we want. We're proofing down the individual barrels depending upon how much water they need. So we're keeping a lower proof alcohol in our barrels. We're pulling out sweeter notes, less harsh notes out of the wood. Also, it's Texas. We get almost double the barrel interaction in Texas than you do in Kentucky. So we get a lot more barrel interaction at a lot shorter of a time period.
And that's because of climate, right?
It's I guess the barometric pressures that change pretty drastically day to day in Texas.
Well, I mean, you can wake up in the morning and it's 40 degrees, and then it'll be 75 to 85 degrees in the afternoon.
Today being one of those days.
You know, and then wake up the next morning and it's down there in low
2
40s.
at night. And the Texas power grid fails.
Yeah, right.
And you're drinking whiskey to stay warm.
So one of the things that's interesting about you guys, and I guess it's true for other Texas whiskeys, but you source your materials from inside Texas primarily.
100% Texas. Nothing comes from outside of Texas. We make our whiskey with.
And you make your whiskey locally, so there's no impact of tariffs for you guys that is going to send these prices upward, unless maybe it's something to do with packaging.
I mean, yeah, it's exactly that. I doubt it'll change what we do. We'd probably sooner take the hit and continue to keep our whiskey at the same price. But I mean, glass. There's 2 big glass producers, China, and there's a big plant in Mexico. We get our glass from China.
Right.
There's nobody in Texas making glass,
right,
as far as I know, like this. We have custom bottles with our name etched on the bottom.
There was this woman who used to live down the street from my mom who made glass. She had one of those things, and she was always making,
I mean, I can ask my boss. We could switch.
Yeah, maybe she
I don't know
how
much time she's got on her hands.
Help you out. Hey,
could you make 16,000 bottles by Tuesday?
She'd be like, "Oh dear." She was a sweet lady, but quite frankly, I don't think you'd want to, because most of her bottles were a little crooked. So
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
That
as long as it doesn't
charm.
leak.
That's right. It was
As long as
artistic.
it doesn't leak.
It was artistic.
I like the idea that the bottle
artisanal
kind of
glass.
sags when you set it down.
It's easier to pour. I don't know.
That's right. It's almost like having a built-in spout
Yeah, exactly.
for pouring. All right, we got to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to taste more whiskeys. We're also going to taste a little beer, and I don't know if I really gave this beer the appropriate, build-up, but we're going to be tasting a beer from Hop Fusion Ale Works out of Fort Worth, Texas, called Feisty Redhead. It is a hibiscus cherry blonde, and you will find it interesting, Ian, because we're opening with a much higher ABV than we normally do for the first beer.
I'm for it.
So we'll do that next. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Thank you for listening. Another authentic sound effect here on Smokin' and Toastin'.
Well, you could sell that one. That was good.
Our program is all about we should get into the sound effects business. It's like, do you guys have one of a busy city street? No, but we got this beer opening. That would work for you.
Like 3 sound effects: beer bottle and can.
Oh no, don't forget leaf blower.
What's
Oh, yeah, I
4
always
beers
got
plus
that.
200 and what, or 432 episodes?
Yeah.
4 beers times
That's
that.
right,
Yeah.
We
exactly.
play every single one of those sound effects
Just one right after
all
the other.
at one time.
That's the thing, is you could get specifically, like I need a lone pint beer open.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. If you need a lone pint yellow rose, we got it. Oh, you need the lone
What
pint
you need, sir, is something special. I have a
right.
Duvel.
That's right. By the way, you
But
mentioned
this is going to cost a little extra, but it's Duvel.
You mentioned that we have the sound effect of leaf blowers, and that's because they always find me wherever I am. I've actually taken to, this is true, I've taken to just texting my wife a picture of the guy with the leaf blower who has found me and is near to me and is making, and it's hilarious. Our text exchanges back and forth are filled with pictures of guys with leaf blowers.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So she's like, you always know how to send the most romantic texts.
I was gonna say, have I been doing it wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait till I get home, she says. I wanted to mention, by the way, that you guys are in luck because Anheuser-Busch is bringing back a fan favorite beer that has not been on the market.
Okay, hold on a second.
I know you're going to be
Bud
excited.
Ice.
Anheuser-Busch is not one to pass up money, right?
This is true.
So
yeah.
if it's a fan favorite beer, why would they have stopped it in the first place?
Well, that's a very good question, and
Hey, why does Taco Bell take away the fries for a little while? The nacho fries.
Why does the McRib disappear?
that's
Boom.
right. That's all about market manipulation.
And the
No,
McRib
but-
disappearing probably is what keeps us human.
Keeps you.
I think you may
It
be right
saves
about
generations.
that. Well, guess what? Busch Light Apple is coming back.
jeez.
I know you were waiting
Wow.
for it.
I don't remember it from the first time.
That's probably best.
It's because you had too many.
That's probably best. So I'm guessing that the Feisty Redhead that we're about to taste here is probably just not at all like Busch Light
It
Apple.
smells
Apple.
interesting.
Yeah. So I will say, going into this, I'm not a huge fan of hibiscus as a flavor in my food or drink. I don't mind hibiscus
Around your
flowers.
house.
They're pretty.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm looking for that as a taste. What do you think, guys?
I'll tell you, my very first sip of this is exactly what I expected.
Yeah?
It shocked my palate and I didn't like it.
Yeah?
So I ignored it and went to my second sip. I kind of like it.
Interesting.
Although, the longer it lingers in my palate, the more questionable that is.
James, what do you think?
It's a little home brewery. If you know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right,
it feels like your friend handed this. It's like, I'm really dialing it in.
Yeah, tell me what you think of where we are
Yeah.
so far.
You want to invest?
I went on a date with a girl when I was in high school, and her dad was like, "Hey, you want to try this beer?" And I was,
I mean,
this was
it's
back before you had good home brewers.
Southern Oklahoma, right? That's where this from?
From Fort Worth, I think.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Southern Oklahoma.
Dallas
I
is
guess.
Southern
Our
Oklahoma.
popular
yeah.
Feisty Blonde, Orange Blossom Honey, Raw Piloncillo, and Pure Mexican Vanilla, aged on hibiscus and cherries for a new twist in the original. I think it's too much going on.
Yeah, was it aiming for something specific? That's a lot of ingredients.
I think it's too much going on, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's something in here that I like, but I don't. I would
Cherry
be,
hibiscus is
I would,
all right.
I would be hard pressed to think, oh, so glad I have a 6-pack of these because I have 5 left. You know what I mean? Like,
It's interesting. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's definitely worth trying. This is kind of like I'd be glad to have one of these in a tap room
right.
to say I tried it
To be able
and
to
do something
sample it.
else.
Yeah. And you got to wonder, like, the difference in sales. If a brewery, let's say a brewery has got a tap room and they've got, I'm just making up a number, 15 beers on tap, right? And they're going to sell some like over and over again because people like those. They're going to sell some. They're going to sell one of because people like you or me come in and we want to try them. Like, I wonder how the math works on that. Like, do you keep making more of these? Maybe
this
you'll want
feels
to try
to
one of
me-
them beers.
This feels to me like that's second thing is kind of what they did, where they took one of their popular beers that they kind of got popular and they probably were making, and then a lot of, and then they're like, hey, let's try some new stuff with it.
But they wound up canning these and sending them out to stores, which is a
True.
whole other thing, right?
True, but different places also have different business models. Some places are more about their tap room, and some places have less tap room and more canning.
Well, it kind of offends me a little that Ingenious Brewing went out of business with their crazy creations that they used to come up with.
Ingenious
But this
was-
is out there on store shelves.
Ingenious were brilliant brewers. I think
were.
you also have to have though a little bit of business sense. You know, you have to promote. You have to do a lot of things to make all this happen. I'm sure you understand that side of it. You make great juice, but you've got to let people know. Mm-hmm. You know,
and
if
you
you
got to
don't,
fight for space on store shelves and all of those
right,
things.
and you'll get pushed right out otherwise, right?
Yeah,
Because other
yeah.
people are fighting for it.
There's
So,
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of good beer, a lot of good whiskey, a lot of good cigars. Why would they buy yours over anyone else's?
Speaking of space on store shelves, I want to send a commendation and a shout out to New Belgium Brewing in Colorado.
I love those
'Cause
guys.
these guys, not only do they make great beer, but they've somehow cracked the code. And I don't know if it's I've seen ads for their Juice Force, their Voodoo
Yeah.
Ranger IPAs.
Yeah.
I've actually seen
Yeah.
ads on television
Yeah, I've seen those
during
now,
like
too.
baseball games and stuff for this. And I don't recall seeing that for a lot of craft beers, except maybe something like Shiner you will see occasionally here in Texas. They'll run ads. But not only have they done that, but they've managed to get shelf space. I was in Kroger yesterday.
They get a lot of Kroger shelf
in the
space.
suburbs of Houston,
Yep.
and literally the only beer that looked good to me was a Voodoo Ranger Space Force 12-pack Imperial IPA sitting there between all the macro brews and and things like Dos Equis and stuff like that. And I was like, but this is a really good beer. Like
True.
I've had this. We had it on the show. It's wonderful.
New Belgium's one of those.
Shout out to them for being able to do that.
New Belgium's one of those that's a beer of a kind of an interesting size. you
Right.
know, a
Well,
brewery
aren't
of
they
an
a
interesting
bigger company, Bottom, right? Aren't they
size. Yes.
part of a?
They were bought by, was it Sam Adams that bought them? Or was it Constellation?
No, it was Constellation, I think. It wasn't Sam
Constellation.
Adams because they bought Dogfish Head.
They bought Dogfish Head,
Yeah,
that's right.
So we'll look into that, and clearly they're benefiting from a distribution arm
Yeah.
from a bigger company.
Bigger
but
company,
they're
yeah.
doing it. Whatever they're doing it right because the beer is still
great beer.
amazing, and they keep coming out with new variants and stuff.
Yeah.
I absolutely love all of that. Okay, got to take a break. We'll be back. More whiskey, more beer, more talk about cigars. In fact, we got to talk about these affordable cigars that I mentioned. Budget-friendly cigars. We'll get to that coming up. It's
I like
Smoking a Toast. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is our number 2 of the show, and we're so glad that you are here. If you want to go ahead and get another whiskey ready, we'll do that in this segment. And meantime, I want to tell you, we promised to tell you about some budget-friendly cigars. And what's interesting is I'm going to use an article in Cigar Aficionado to tell you about these cigars. And what's interesting is when I first saved this article so we could talk about it on the show, the title of the article was 15 Budget-Friendly Cigars. Same article, but new headline now, 15 Tariff Buster Cigars.
Tariff Buster.
Yeah, so that's just becoming the new reality, I guess. High-scoring cigars, they say, that won't break the bank even after new tariffs go into effect. They start with the La Aroma de Cuba Robusto, which scored a 94. It's a $7.25 cigar. It's a little bit rustic, but they are very high on it, gave it a 94, and just 1 point away, they say, from classic status on their scale, and at $7.25 for full retail. There's also the Arturo Fuente Spanish Lonsdale Maduro, which scored a 90 and sells for $6.85. They say while the market may favor thicker ring gauges, don't neglect the old school, slimmer sizes. They not only deliver fine flavor, but you can even fit more of them in your humidor. Which
If your
is,
cigar gets a little too slim, though, you have to have the right mustache for it.
this is true. That's I understand. You have to be able to have the right mustache that curls on the end,
That's
so you
right.
can twirl it around while you're smoking. The Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story. Now, this is a small cigar, but it's $7.35. It scored a 90, and it's worth every
Dude, I've been
penny.
recommending that cigar for years.
Yeah,
that's
just
a great cigar.
That's just a staple and a standby.
and if you find it in the Maduro, snap it up.
Yep. The Charter Oak, Connecticut Habano Lonsdale, another Lonsdale, 90 points on the score. It's $6.80 as the retail price. They say that the Charter Oak series started as a love letter to Connecticut, which is where their headquarters are based. The Habano line, which is made using no leaves from Connecticut, is rolled with an Ecuador Habano wrapper over Nicaraguan binder and filler, and looks really good. It's the first time I've seen this name crop up on one of these articles. The Don Diego Caronna scored a 90 in Cigar Aficionado, and it does have a new and very attractive band that's a little different from the Don Diegos that I'm used to seeing that, I buy when I want a really cheap dog walker type cigar.
Right.
This one's $6.38, and it's rolled with an Ecuadorian wrapper leaf. So might want to check that one out, especially if that's a brand you kind of have a tendency to pass by when you're in the humidor of your favorite cigar store. La Aroma de Cuba Corona A Corona's a great size of cigar.
Yeah.
I don't smoke a lot of them because I have a tendency to do, a lot of Toros and stuff like that. And this is a little smaller, but it's a very fun smoke. I like the Corona size. $7.25 for the La Aroma de Cuba Corona. The Bolivar Cofriata Petite Corona scored an 89. It's only $4.79.
That's a good cigar.
Yeah, and they say earth, coffee bean, and vanilla. You're speaking my language there on a flavor profile for sure. Now, this next one is a brand that I really love. They've always been very affordable. It's the Curivari Buenaventura.
I was going to mention those. Yeah.
They scored the Favoritos Natural at 89 points, at the Favoritos National 60. And it's $5.90. It's comes in 3 varieties: Connecticut, Natural, and Maduro. And there will be another one of those on this list, I'll tell you right now. La Aurora Cazadores Nicaragua Robusto. This sounds like something I would really like, and it's $5. La Aurora Cazadores Nicaragua Robusto.
When you put all
89.
those words together, they sound wonderful.
They really do. La Flor Dominicana, the Cameroon Cabinet, number 3, scored an 89. It's $6.40. The La Galera Imperial Jade, Chiquito Perfecto. It's a small little Perfecto, which is fatter at the foot and then has the little nipple that you like. And it's a beautiful looking cigar. It scored 89 points, and it is $6.61, a small one. Now, a couple of Olivas here. The Connecticut Reserve Petite Corona scored an 89. It's $6.80. And the Serie O number 4 scored an 89.
Serie O,
it's
don't sleep on it.
$7.20. I know, because I love the Milanios. And that whole line of cigars from Oliva. It is easy to sleep on the Serie O and the Serie G, and you shouldn't, because they're both very
both
good.
very good.
Arturo Fuente Chateau Fuente scored an 88. It's $7.45. It is a pretty small cigar. And finally, as I promised, another one of these, the Curivari Buenaventura Favoritos Connecticut 50 scored an 88. It's $4.90. I'll tell you,
That's pretty nice.
those cigars have gotten me through some of the really most broke periods in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And they're good. I mean, they have earthiness to them, and they're just really a wonderful smoke. So anyway, there's some cigars for you to think about that are a little more on the less expensive or tariff buster type tip. And now let's talk a little whiskey.
Yeah. Quick question. How many do we have time for? One more after this?
Oh, we have time for a lot more after
Perfect,
this.
because I was going to say the last one is a cigar blend bourbon.
Oh, I'm very
Can't miss
excited.
that one.
Very excited.
This is what we're drinking right now. We're about to drink. This is Still Austin's Cast Strength Rye Whiskey.
Nice.
This is the most recent addition to our core line of whiskeys. This is 100% Brasetto Rye. Again, 100% Texas grown. 100% made on site at Still Austin Distillery in Austin, Texas.
If you like spicy, this is your
Well,
whiskey.
I
This
love
is a
Rye.
spicy boy.
I love Rye, but you said this is a new addition to your core
The
line.
newest. Yeah.
The newest. So that makes me excited, because as much as I love drinking, special releases and special bottles, if I fall in love with something, I want to know
wanna be
that
able
I
to get
can get more of it. And that's
It's interesting. Even the last one had this, and this one has it as well. Is on the Retro Hill, there's a bit of bubble gum. It's so nice. It's
which,
just
by the way, is a wonderful whiskey thing.
yes,
We talk about that a lot on the show. That's got a little bubble gum. And when you say bubble gum,
so good.
you mean that flavor of like the Topps baseball
yes,
card
I'm talking
bubble
about
gum
the
stick.
cheapest, most
bright
bubble
pink.
gum.
Yeah.
That cracks into bits in your
I was
mouth
gonna say,
and then chews into
it
bubble
didn't make
gum.
for great bubble gum, but it's a great flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's that classic flavor that has a powdery stuff on the outside.
This
This
is
is so good.
This is me when I was younger, opening up a pack of baseball cards and going, "Oh, I love that smell." That's
Right,
so good.
yeah.
Oh, damn it! I got Roger Clemens again. Sorry, I just think he's an a-hole. So this is
You're not wrong.
But he did something, by the way. Not to talk too much sports on the show, but he did something that people thought was impossible, and that was that he got Boston Red Sox fans and New York Yankee fans to agree on something. That Roger Clemens is an a-hole. Yeah, that's not. You don't find much agreement in those two camps about anything, but they will agree with you on Roger Clemens. So,
I'm putting a drop of water. I just want to see what
Yeah, this
happens.
is
But I do love-
116. This is Cast Strength
I
Rye.
do love the bubble gum, and I do love the power of this. Let
You
me
know,
try
your proof is up there when you put a drop of water and then you can just see it moving on its own.
Let me try some of the
It doesn't
water.
quite
if I
blend
could.
just right off.
Yeah, no, you're right. You see, it's like you see a little blending of your own. Yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah,
for
I
me.
like this bottle a lot. Out of our core lineup, rye is what I drink the most of personally. I drink this pretty regularly.
Yeah, I'm a
I think
fan of the rye.
people who say they don't enjoy rye whiskey, which I think it's my favorite spirit made in America.
When
is
people
rye,
say that,
but
why do you think that is that people?
well,
say
so
they don't enjoy
classic
rye?
rye is typically a different species of rye. Usually, it's called a Bruzy. Grows up in the Northwest. Grows up in Indiana really well. I'd say like 90% of rye is probably coming out of the state of Indiana at one distillery. It's very sharp, thin on the palate, grain forward, tons of black pepper. Ours is the exact opposite. It's fat, it's thick, it's viscous, zero black pepper. On our straight rye, you get a lot of green apple, a little less on this, but a lot of baking spices, cinnamon, clove, allspice.
I'll tell you what, with a drop of water, this I think is even better. It just opens
It
up.
also picks up a little brownie,
Yes.
like a brownie batter kind of note in the very back of the palate.
So we're drinking the Still Austin cask strength rye whiskey, and I love the artwork on this bottle because it's the girl
Is
with
Mark
her
Burkhart.
hair flowing behind her this time. She's doing a painting. She's apparently painting a bird, but I don't know how it's the bird that's up in the sky there because that looks like hers is much more detailed than she'd be able to see for that bird. But it's beautiful artwork. It's a wonderful looking bottle to have on the shelf.
Is that an
but even
Austin
better.
artist?
Mark Burkhart, he was an official artist for the state of Texas. He's a phenomenal artist, and he does all of our core line products, plus some specialty stuff for us. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, I really, and your stuff all has a sort of a signature look to it because of that, which I think is great because you can kind of immediately spot it on the shelf.
Also,
If you're familiar with it.
some distilleries just have a cool name. Okay, like up in Michigan, you have Mammoth Distillery. That's cool, right? Still Austin
Does it have anything to do
is
with
an awesome name.
Does it have anything to do with Wolfgang Van Halen? so I didn't know this until I watched this documentary recently. But one of the early incarnation of Van Halen was actually called Mammoth.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and so
Yes.
fast forward to now, and Eddie Van Halen's son Wolfgang is in a band, and he named it Mammoth. WVH. Because the name Mammoth was taken. That was why they originally changed to Van Halen, was because the name Mammoth was actually taken. But Mammoth WVH was not taken. And if you're listening, that's Eddie Van Halen's son playing guitar.
And he is a badass.
Actually, he plays all the instruments on the records for
he is real
for
good.
WVH. Well, if your think about it, if your dad was Eddie Van Halen, you don't even record anything unless you've got some serious chops.
Yeah.
Because the bar has been
Yeah.
set so
Well,
high, right?
when Eddie Van Halen's your dad, you have never had to have a real job.
This is true.
You
You've been
can
able
sit
to
around.
and
may-
practice
You can
guitar.
sit around
have
and
time
practice
to
24/7.
That's like Gene Simmons' son, you know,
Yeah, right.
and daughter.
Gene Simmons' son and daughter are actually hilarious.
Yes, they
I
are.
love the way they torture him. It's wonderful. If you've seen any of those reality shows, this is a really wonderful whiskey. What does this rye sell for?
You about 60 on average.
That's just.
I still think it's very fair.
a wonderful price
So
for this.
things that I love about this rye too, it's unapologetically Texan. It's as big and ridiculous as a rye gets. I don't know that I've ever had a rye that's quite this big and spicy.
You know, they say that everything's bigger in Texas. That's the saying, and this rye is kind of like proof of that. It is like
They also say that size doesn't matter so much, but whoever says that has small stuff,
yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly
smaller,
yeah.
Corona sized.
smaller things.
Yeah, it's like when I used to
They have 350 ml bottles.
when I used to be in radio, and you were judged.
No shame.
You were judged by the ratings. There was this saying, "Yeah, you live by the ratings, you die by the ratings." And I always noted that nobody ever said that when they had really good ratings.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like what you're getting at here. You know.
when a rich guy tells you money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah, and size
Give me
doesn't.
half.
Yeah, the size
Hold on,
doesn't
buddy.
matter. It's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. But this is really what if this is to me if this is an example of a $60 Texas whiskey, then you have set the bar for other people, in my opinion.
I mean, we're clearly making the best whiskey in Texas at the moment. There's a
tell you
lot of good
something.
whiskey now out of Texas. I think across the board.
Are you
core
still-
SKUs? Yeah, we're
Are you still
killing.
doing the once a month? Is it
Nancy?
Nancy's
pick once a month. That's our master blender. She's best in the
Brilliant.
world. And once a month, she's now doing rye. So she's doing single barrel bourbon and single barrel rye. Once a month, we call them Nancy's pick. Got to buy them in Austin at our distillery.
I got a buddy that lives
phenomenal.
out there and be like, I hate to make
Get
you
some
do
Nancy's.
this, but you have to go by Still Austin.
Go get in
Pick up a
line,
Nancy-
buddy.
Whatever
Yeah.
the Nancy's pick is for this month, right? All right, we got to take a break. We will be right back. We have more whiskey to taste and talk about, and we actually have some more beers, and they're not Golden Monkey. So we'll get to that coming up. It is Smoking and Toasting. Thanks for hanging with us, folks. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 432. And we've got James Caronna from Still Austin in the house. And I was saving some of the rye from the previous segment because we're going to taste an IPA in this segment, and IPAs have a tendency to go really well with ryes. But then I found out that James brought another rye. So I was like, okay, I downed that
everybody
old
finish
one.
your drink.
Yep, everybody finish your drink. We're starting again. And
You're not the boss of me. Oh, wait.
This should be really exciting. So the IPA we're trying is actually from one of my all-time favorite IPA breweries. It is the Bare Bottle Brewery in San Francisco. And we recently had one of their Pilsners on, and it was really good. But I bet every other time we've had a Bare Bottle beer on the show, it has been an IPA.
You know what they called an IPA in New Zealand?
Yeah?
A Royale with Nelson.
A Royale with Nelson. So we've got Pulp Fiction references going on here. This is all very exciting.
This is
And
called
who's Nelson, though?
Well,
Royale
okay,
with
so I
Nelson.
can tell you that there's a hop strain called Nelson Sauvin, and I think that's what they used in this particular IPA.
Okay.
So Nelson Sauvin.
You're
Nelson-
smart.
My favorite line ever from The Simpsons was, "I sleep in a drawer." What a show! It's
I
been on
like
for
I like the randoms when someone says something you just randomly hear.
Yeah, you got to salute any show that's been on for like 40 years and is as funny still today as that show.
So interesting
Bare Bottle,
things.
San Francisco.
What's the name?
Bare
It's
Bottle
called-
Brewing Company,
it's
and
called
then it's
Royale
called
with
Royale
Nelson.
with
I thought you
Nelson.
were saying Bare Bottom, and I was like, San Francisco Bare Bottom. That's
Yeah.
an intense name. All right.
Talk about mud flaps. My girl's got them.
That's it, right? And on lead bass.
Yeah, that's right. On lead bass.
Dude, the double entendres through that song are so good.
It's that's just classic stuff. We're
Big
talking.
bottoms going out of my mind. How can I leave this behind?
Yeah, it's classic stuff. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, it's Spinal Tap, and you need to know what we're talking about.
that's a good one.
I don't
They're
care.
coming out with a new movie.
They
now.
are.
I don't
Yeah.
care if you're like Gen whatever that just came out. This is something you gotta go back and understand. Yeah, trust me. You will thank me for sending you back.
If you don't get the humor in this movie, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Seek help.
Yeah. If you don't get the humor in this movie, just kick my ass. Go ahead, kick it.
Contains live cultures.
Sorry.
Please keep refrigerated. It doesn't have a whole lot of information other than that, really.
Well, but if you turn to that other panel, it's got gobs of information about the hops. And,
Over
and
here,
the-
yes,
yeah.
it's way too much
Yeah.
information.
It's like more than
Way more than I'm
yeah,
gonna-
exactly, because that's what Bare Bottle does. Now they used to do. It's interesting because Bare Bottle Brewery switched to cans, but I'm really glad they didn't change their name to Bear
Cans are
Cans.
better.
That just
Bear
wouldn't
Can
work.
Brewery?
That Bear Can, yeah. But they have
Bear
always
Can Brewery.
they have always made wonderful IPAs. We've had a number of them on this show, so I'm excited about this one. This is Royale with Nelson because they use Nelson Sauvin hops.
It's pretty
and
drinkable.
It's very fruity on the nose. as
Oh,
you
it is.
expect.
It is crazy fruity on the nose,
I
right?
don't think that. What are the IBUs on this? It's not super bitter.
Oh, I
Not
bet it
super
says
hot.
Well,
on the
would you
can
like to
somewhere.
know? There is a lot of information about the IBUs. It's the IBU 34.6, but it has a mash efficiency of 72%.
Guys, this is a wonderful beer. Like I'm an IPA guy.
Dude, okay,
And hazies
geek
are
out
my
on that
favorite.
for a minute. Watch
Hazies are my favorite. Hazies and juices are my favorite
Yeah.
style of IPA, and I just absolutely love this.
This has
this is
a
Ghost in
weird-
the Machine territory for
This
me.
has a weird malty funkiness to it that I kind of like. It's interesting because the balance on this is like dead center.
All right, so Now for the experimentation portion of the program, where we go from the very hazy IPA, very juicy IPA with Nelson Sauvin hops, and we go back to, well, not back because we were trying this one actually for the first time. This is a different rye than the one we had before. What is
our
this, Jim?
straight rye. So this
Straight
is
rye,
going to
okay.
be 98 or 99 proof, 100% Brasetto rye.
You know, in a strange coincidence, when I put this on my shelf, it tends to evaporate pretty quickly.
You have
Now-
had that problem with
Now, my wife does
You should
love...
complain to James because he's here.
Yeah.
My wife does love old fashions. I don't know that has anything to do with it.
Probably not. Yeah.
But
No,
this particular
5%.
rye gets to the shelf, and it starts evaporating almost immediately.
This is my daily drinker. I say daily. Good Lord, I just say that. This is what I drink the most of when it comes
Am I
to
that
Still
guy?
Austin.
Rewind that
Yeah.
and
Can you
delete the.
delete that?
That has been stricken
Thanks,
from the
Lemmy
record.
Kilmister.
This is my
Yeah.
redacted. No, you're absolutely right about this being a go-to, though. This is
So
this
good.
is wonderful, and the marriage with this bare bottle IPA is a thing of beauty, in my opinion.
You should. So on the
Oh.
IPA, I got a lot of fruitiness. Ours, this rye drinks almost like an apple brandy. It's super fruity. A lot of green apple, in my opinion.
So when you go back to the IPA, have you done that yet? Mm-hmm. You go back to the IPA, it gives it a almost sugar cookie kind of finish.
Yes, absolutely. It's a little bit. It's like a snickerdoodle, but not cinnamon.
Yeah,
So sugar cookie, I guess, is what that would be, right?
I think yeah. It's pretty interesting.
I like this. I like this beer a lot. I love this rye.
This rye is so good.
This is just
Very tasty.
spectacular.
I don't think I said this on our bourbon, but our malted barley, 5% gets added into our bourbon. We use food grade products. We use a little higher quality of grain in general for our whiskey. But apparently that malted barley we use is meant to go into high-end IPAs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, no wonder this is, pairing up so well, because I would consider this a high-end
And this
IPA.
is $50, right?
This will hit you. So we try to line price this with our bourbon line price. So 38 to 42.
Yeah. Okay. And this
38
is so
to
good.
40.
Under
42,
50
wow.
for sure.
So
Under
good.
50 for this. This is
I've
wonderful.
I've paid more for fancier names that
that aren't this good.
don't even come close.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
So good.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Obviously, there's a lot to love about Still Austin, but as a person that lives in Texas, you just make me really proud of your contribution to the Texas whiskey scene, because no one can come in and drink this and say these guys are not serious. You
The
are
thing
not
about
serious
this too
people.
is this
you are.
particular rye is so approachable, yet there's no compromise. It's not approachable because they're trying to water it down or any of this other
sure,
stuff. It
make it
just
sweet
happens
or
to
anything,
be
yeah.
an amazingly approachable flavor.
I'm approaching it
And
very
if you're
easily.
a pro, you're gonna love this.
Speaking of San Francisco, double gold San Francisco winner to match our San
Love
Francisco
it.
beer.
We'll be right back. Drinking news, my friends, is next. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
Love those
And
things.
I've just realized we got a lot to do in the remaining time on the show. So we're going to blast through this thing here. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the feature that is sometimes, but not always, about people who've been drinking, but it is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking, and we have. It's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I forgot the line.
that's not what he
My
said.
gator to the vet.
Oh, I bring my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
In case you're wondering why we do this live, that's exactly why.
Well,
Because that was awesome.
And I do want to point out, I did remind him of it during the break. I don't want you to think we bring people in and hope that they
And
fail.
blindside. Yeah.
We just put him on the spot.
Just
I
guess
had
the
to
words.
I was
had to
staring
take my
at Tanager.
gator.
I'm sorry. I was
Yeah.
staring at whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, and we do get distracted, here on the show. But the thing to remember, the most important thing is...
I had to take my gator to the vet.
See? There you go. You know, from time to time here on Drinking News, we like to take a momentary break from the chronicling of drunk people, stupid people, and residents of Florida.
We do?
Which can quite often be all
I
three.
mean, why?
And recognize someone who has done something positive to contribute good things to society.
Okay.
And so on today's edition, we would like to salute a man from Wilmington, Delaware, where we recently added WDEL AM and FM as a Smokin' and Toastin'
I
affiliate.
love that.
Wow.
The Delaware man's name is Bill Page.
Delaware man.
And he was recently a contestant on the TV game show Wheel of Fortune.
No, I'm not doing it.
Now, I don't often watch Wheel of
Just a
Fortune.
Wheel
I don't often watch Wheel of Fortune because it makes me crazy when people on that show do this one specific thing. A contestant will be looking at a puzzle, and it's a phrase, and the board reads H blank PPY space BIRTHD blank Y. And these idiots, instead of solving the very obvious puzzle that's clearly going to say
Can I
happy
get a
birthday,
U?
they say, I want to buy a vowel. Even if they buy the A. I'm just saying, why did you buy? Seriously? But that's not important right now because we're not celebrating our Delaware man for solving a puzzle with or without buying vowels. We're recognizing him for something else. When Bill Page was introduced on the show, it was revealed that he was a former wrestler, which he then demonstrated by putting the host, the vastly overexposed Ryan Seacrest, in a headlock.
Great.
Now, Seacrest appeared to play along at first, but then he started like banging his head on the game console to signify that he was tapping out. The Delaware man, in a public service to all Americans, kept him in the headlock for just a little bit longer.
Just a little too long.
I mean, sure, I would rather the former wrestler have used a move like the Canadian Destroyer, which is a flip pile driver maneuver that would have gotten Seacrest the rather intense experience of hitting the mat. But a headlock? Hey,
What about the Coco
it's a-
Beware where he
it's a
flies
great
off
start.
the top?
Exactly.
You know what? It doesn't matter. Ryan Seacrest, he deserves it just for being there. Is there a job that he does not take?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
come on,
That's
dude.
right. He'll
Like,
take
seriously,
every- he'll
why?
take
I didn't even
anyone's
know he
job.
was doing that. What are
I
you
was
doing
not a
there?
fan of Pat
What are you
Sajak,
doing
but
there?
I'm longing for the Sajak
Oh,
era.
yeah.
I'm just saying. Bill Page, Drinking News, salutes you and your service to all mankind. But our main story in today's Drinking News takes us to another Delaware. This time it's Delaware County in Pennsylvania. According to police experts, or police reports rather, the incident there began with an example of something that we're all probably familiar with: road rage. I mean, we all know how infuriating it can be when someone cuts you off in traffic.
I mean, I live in Houston. When would that ever happen?
Exactly.
Zero traffic here.
Well, that appears to be what happened in this story when one driver apparently did that to a 44-year-old Pennsylvania woman
Pennsylvania one.
named Christina Solometo of Ridley Park. And she was not having it. to prove that
She's
she
like,
was
honey.
to prove that she was not one to be messed with. That particular phrase will become even more relevant in just a moment. Solometo got out of her car, walked
That's
to the
always a good
other
sign.
driver's car, and proceeded to drop her shorts, squat over the hood, and take a serious dump on the other car.
Like on command? Like I'm gonna do this right now?
I seriously don't know how people do
talent.
that. I can't poop on demand. Can
Maybe
you?
that was why she was mad at her. She needed to go to the bathroom and she wouldn't go, so she said, "Fine, I'll show you why I need to go." So
In a video that was shared online by a third party, The woman can be seen walking back to her own car looking very pleased with herself.
She shouldn't look that pleased. What did she wipe with?
And well, that was my question. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I carry a little dude wipe with me most of the time. It's like,
dude wipes are a great thing.
Dude wipes are amazing.
She was smiling and laughing when she was arrested for it.
Yes, she was. The Pennsylvania woman was taken into custody, and she's been charged with indecent exposure,
that lady's classy.
disorderly conduct, criminal mischief, harassment, and this is my favorite, depositing waste on a highway.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that after all these years that they don't have an actual, no police department has an actual, like, you know, defecation.
Pooping on a car. Yeah.
Pooping on something, like you were just, they
Now-
had to come up with all these around that.
Now
to get
listen,
pooping on
I'm
a car.
still amazed she could just do this on command. Like I have to wait until it wants to happen.
Yeah, well, if
It
I'm
controls me.
if it's like
That's
first
right.
if it's first thing in the morning when I get out of bed, maybe. But beyond that, yeah,
So
I
you just like get up and get in the car and start
Well,
driving
if
around.
it's rush hour, you're running late, you didn't have time to do
Yeah.
it at home, sure.
Right.
that
Warning
must-
traffic.
that
And then, of
must have
course,
been
you're
the
running
case.
late, so yes, that's exacerbating
Yeah.
the situation.
Sure.
Exacerbating. I like that word. Now, well, listen, it's not possible to excuse Miss Solomato's actions, but I think we can all relate to the feeling of wanting some way to respond when someone else drives dangerously or cuts you off in traffic. And, as often happens to me,
I mean, there are people out there that are into that kind of thing.
when I hear a story like this and I try to empathize with the person who's acted out in such a way, I can sometimes become a little bit inspired. And when I'm inspired, I often like to compose a poem, a sonnet, if you will, to try and put myself into the headspace of the person who would do such a crazy thing.
Inspired
I
by
mean, seriously, what drove them? What was their inner voice saying to them in this moment? What feelings were they experiencing that resulted in this outrageous behavior? I feel like perhaps my poetry speaks to this, and I believe I'd like to share it with you right now. I was going to ask for a little poetry reading music, but you were already way ahead of me,
Oh,
sir.
we're dying to hear this.
And it goes, and remember, this is about being in the headspace of the woman who would do such a thing, right?
Okay,
And
so we're putting ourselves right now in that place.
That's
We're-
right.
We're thinking as her, we're on the hood of the car.
And it goes a little something like this. Whatever's a person to do when hot road rage clouds your rear view, though it might be quite ominous, you will establish your dominance when you squat on their car hood and poo. Reporting live from Delaware County, Pennsylvania, where the victim of this crime just told me it's not the first time they've had poop on their car. It's just the first time it wasn't from a bird. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers.
Oh, what a load of crap.
Okay, so listen, during the reading of Drinking News, I got this little tickle in my throat, and I was afraid I was going to start coughing, right? So I reached for the closest thing that I could take a sip of, and it was this beer. And I just have to say, oh my God.
Well, let me tell you about this beer. Hold on.
Okay.
Well, given the last segment, did
Hear
you choose
ye.
a dark brown stout on purpose?
Hear ye.
Oh, Ian, is that the info that was inside the box from
The info scroll.
from Firestone Walker?
The info scroll is written at a very tiny
Oh yeah,
font.
No way
and
I
it's
could read
about
that
a
without
foot
my
long
glasses.
Got a
rolled
lot
up.
to say
Point
about that
three
beer.
new times, Roman?
No, so here's what here's what I know about Firestone Walker. These guys do a special ale every year that is obviously something they put into barrels and age, and this was their
and
ale
this
for
is
2024.
all
their
the awesome
anniversary ale.
information about it. But here's what you really need to know.
Yes.
Beer good.
Wow. I just said wow.
It's really,
I
really
almost
nice.
stopped drinking news to talk about how amazing the sip was that I just
Okay,
took.
so the there's a bitter coffee note that cuts right through the middle of this. It's delicious, but it's also sweet
Yes.
without a lingering sweet.
Right. It's not sweet in any kind of a cloying way. It's sweet in just a wonderful way. You know, when you make that perfect glass of iced tea that is sweetened just right with whatever kind of sweetener you like, and you hit that, I hate to say sweet spot, but you know what I'm talking about. You get it just right. The balance is just right, and that's what I'm getting out of this beer. Beautiful, wonderful sweetness.
Man, I always get the sweetness perfect in my iced tea.
You're good at that.
I
right?
just don't
Use
put
the
any
right
sweetener
amount
Oh,
in it.
so you go no sweetener in your iced tea.
No sweetener.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
that's
that's
interesting. I used to do that, and my favorite iced tea, as I've talked about this on the show before, is the salted caramel iced tea, Bigelow iced tea. I do 5 tea bags in my iced tea maker, make the iced tea, but I've found that I like it with a packet of the sweetener, the
Carcina sweet?
stevia. Yeah.
Do you put that in? Do you put that in per glass, or do you put that
Per
in
glass,
while
yeah.
you're?
But it's a huge glass. But yes,
Yeah.
because I use the big,
The stevia
tumbler.
is supposed to be like sugar, though, isn't it? It's kind of
Yeah,
like sugar.
it's got a sweetness to it. But yeah. But back to this beer, it's amazing.
It's pretty darn good.
A lot of roasted sugars,
Firestone Walker,
vanilla.
yeah.
these
big time.
guys totally know what they're doing. We've had
The
their beers on the show before.
overly burnt caramel, which is
Yeah.
kind of pleasant. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's too much, but it's perfect. Coming in at 12.7% as well.
I like what you said. It's too much, but it's perfect.
Yes, it's
That is
too
the-
much, but it's perfect.
That is the greatest descriptor of this beer that you could offer. Now, we're going to go from this beer to something from Still Austin
Hard pivot.
that you said this is something super special.
Well, we went
and you
from
can tell it's super special
Feisties
because
to Firestone Walkers, so
the,
sure.
right, we're headed the right direction here. But this
I mean,
is
things are getting better each step.
Tanager. Tell us about
Tanager.
this and why the neck of the bottle is beveled like this, so it would look so much more interesting.
Man, I don't think I'm qualified or paid enough to explain everything about this bottle, but
Okay,
Tanager
tell
is
us what you know.
Yeah, Tanager is a special release by Still Austin from master blender Nancy Fraley. Nancy the Nose
We
Fraley.
talked about
Best
Nancy
in the
earlier.
world.
Nancy,
She's
I've
our
never
master
met you,
blender.
but I love you right
She works
now.
with our master distiller John. She's phenomenal. She's also a cognac blender. She's phenomenal. Anyways, we made this specialty
Whoa.
bottle called Tanager. This is a cigar blend bourbon, which I believe she is credited with bringing to the U.S. from the
The
brandy
whole
world.
concept of cigar
Blend
bourbon,
bourbons. Yeah, from the cognac world, brandy world, Armagnac world. This is a blend of our red corn bourbon and our blue corn bourbon. We do our élevage, where we're proofing down barrels, proofing down the barrels themselves individually before we pull them and blend them. This also has a really cool process called Petit O, which we basically take our white corn bourbon, we take a full-size whiskey barrel, proof it down to about 25% alcohol, so 50 proof whiskey. We let that barrel-aged whiskey water age for about a year, and then that is the water that we proof down this whiskey with.
So the water has a proof itself.
chewy.
The water itself is alcoholic.
Yeah,
Wow.
This
but
is
very
you
low
use that
proof
to
alcohol.
down. Yeah,
And
This
so
is
it's technically
chewy right here.
It's big, right? So it's a blend of red, white, and blue bourbons. The goal, apparently, what I was told from our master distiller is that process of Petit O just adds thickness and body to the whiskey itself. It's meant to linger and stick on your palate to be able to hold up to a cigar. So the cigar is not going to overpower the actual
And
flavor of this whiskey.
Wonderful.
And it
Yeah.
does. It is on the tongue like madness. This is
Stays there
so.
for
I
a
want to
while.
point out. I want to point out also.
Big time.
Thank you, because this is unobtainable. This is from your
Yeah.
private collection. You brought this to share with us,
You're not going to find this in any
and
store
so
in
thank
the
you
country
so much.
at the
But I
moment.
love that this is something that they make, or that you guys make, that is just so outrageously good.
Yeah, I think this is the best thing we've made. But it's the culmination of everything we do. Texas grain made on site, our élevage series, the blending of Nancy Fraley, the cool French technique she's brought to us. This is kind of the culmination of all of that together. About $150, $170 bottle. I've seen it on the secondary market for about $700. It is sold out. You're not going to get it, but we are going to do it once a year. And this is the Tanager Cigar Blend Bourbon from Still Austin.
It's
So what's that
wonderful.
moment in the Tarantino movie where he finally finds the perfect pastor?
yes.
I think you know where I'm at.
We found this. We will be right back at Smoking Toast. back.
Those real box sound effects that the last
that's
beer
right.
came in.
Box sound effects, which are very important. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We have been drinking some really wonderful spirits today from Still Austin. I know that the last thing that you poured us, James, is not something that people can actually find in stores.
Not yet.
But explain to us what it is exactly.
Yeah, so Tanager is a special release from Still Austin. Again, it's kind of the culmination of all the cool esoteric French techniques that we do to making Texas bourbon. Élevage being one of them, plus a really cool process called Petit O, which is a classic brandy technique. That's a very special bottle. Once again, it is sold out. You're not going to find this anywhere, but we are going to start doing it annually. So every December,
Ooh, I'm in.
you can look forward to a new Tanager release. The blend might change. This one was a blend of our red corn bourbon, our blue corn bourbon, and our white
So
corn
it would be
bourbon.
like an annual, here's our special bourbon.
Here's our
release.
Tanager once a year. Yeah.
Love it. That's such a wonderful idea. It is great. And going back to the Firestone Walker Anniversary Ale, it is the 28th Anniversary Ale. These two really fit together hand and glove,
Yeah. That beer with this whiskey is fantastic.
in my opinion. It's just
agreed.
it's just a really smooth handshake going on here.
Oh, it makes the beer go so vanilla. Mm-hmm. It's pretty amazing.
Which is why I love it. I'm a fan of vanilla, as I believe it was the Bare Naked Ladies who said vanilla is the finest of the flavors, and I think they were right. But this is a wonderful.
Didn't they
pairing.
say vanilla comes in a can? It was put there by a man.
No, that was Peaches.
Peaches.
That was Peaches, and that was the president of the United States of America. Oh, we should only be so lucky.
I digress.
But yeah, that shows what '90s kids we really are. Actually, yeah. When you're
I literally said that just to set that joke up.
when you're
Just, yeah.
name quoting the president of the United States
Yeah,
of America,
yeah.
she's lump.
Yeah.
I mean, you are a child of the '90s.
I still
You
don't know
are
what that
Gen
song
X
means.
all the way.
Tune
No
in
one-
next
no one
week
does.
when we talk about Primus.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Wanda had a big brown beaver.
Yeah, and Jenny was a race car driver, so it's the way it goes. That's fun stuff.
What was the
That's-
other one? Mrs. Blaylene.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here.
In South Park.
South Park, yeah, South Park, of course.
But before,
Still making
going on
money
down
off
to
of
South
that.
Park. Before we get too lost in Primus Land, let's taste one more Still Austin distillate here. This is. Did I hear you say
My
this is
God.
your favorite thing that you can actually?
I think out of our core
Out
line,
of
the
your core line,
year-round
yeah.
stuff we make that you can always get, I think this is the best thing we make. This is our cask strength bourbon.
It's so good.
116 proof
strength
bourbon,
bourbon,
70% white corn, 25 rye, 5 malted barley. This
So
is
in your,
some of the best whiskey.
in
I
your
think this is
two-
the best
out of
whiskey
your
made in
two
Texas
ryes,
right now.
Out of your two ryes, I think I like the core rye a little bit better.
The first one or the second one we had.
The second one.
The second one would be our straight rye, which is
Right,
that's
straight
my
rye.
daily drinker.
Right. That one I think is just it hits a spot and it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not taking anything away from the other one, but out of bourbon, this one.
Yeah.
Well, it's really tough to follow what you gave us with this.
I know. We
But
went from
actually-
Tanager back to
Actually, this holds up.
But it still
pretty
stands
darn
up.
well.
It's still pretty
Yeah.
darn good. What's interesting is you can tell that this is going for a more basic bourbon profile.
Yeah, I mean, this drinks like bourbon. And
But-
if you blinded, you would guess this is probably like maybe a 6 to 8 year, maybe a 10-year-old Kentucky bourbon, but it's not. It's a 3 to 4 year Texas bourbon.
That's what amazes
Points
me.
out how great Texas whiskey actually can be, because it
Yeah.
does not take as long to achieve this kind of taste and
That
flavor.
kind of maturation and the
Right,
flavor.
right. The
yeah.
maturation, exactly. And by the way, if you go back now to the Firestone Walker,
that's good.
25th, it's like, am I eating a graham cracker crust here? This is just wonderful.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm. Wow, it really does turn into graham cracker crust, doesn't it?
Yeah. I love graham. Nothing I like better than a good key lime pie with a graham cracker
Yeah,
crust.
buddy.
And it doesn't have the key lime, but it sure has that.
Yeah.
It sure
We're not
has
we're
that
not always
crust.
trying to be very Texas central, but we do talk about key limes.
Oh yeah, man.
All right, let me know if
Texas
I'm
whiskeys.
crazy. I get a lot of raisin now.
Yes,
Almost like a
100%.
sherry or something off the beer. coming from
Almost
the whiskey.
almost date kind of
Yeah.
like deep
Fig,
dark. Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Wow, this is so. The core message to our program today is that the guys at Still Austin are still just kicking major
whiskey.
booty all across every place that they are available. So you mentioned that if there is a Total Wine in your state,
We
you
sell.
should be able to find Still
It's
Austin
there.
there.
I
correct?
can't guarantee you what's going to be there, but
Right.
Still Austin will be there. We have a great relationship with Total Wine, as well as all of our vendors. But Total Wine, we love those guys. We do really well with them. We actually have some exclusive bottles. We only sell to
I was
Total
about
Wine
to ask,
outside of
okay,
the
do
state
you
of
have some-
Texas.
because Total Wine will do the barrel picks and things like that.
So
as
we
well.
always do barrel picks with Total Wine, but right now, if you are buying Still Austin at a Total Wine outside of the state of Texas, Louisiana, Illinois, and Colorado, you can probably find our bottled and bond bourbon and bottled and bond rye, which we do not sell in the state of Texas, Louisiana, Illinois, and Colorado. So those are
makes me a little
specialty bottles
sad.
only through Total Wine. And
Are
they're
you all right over there,
phenomenal.
Ian?
Now I have to go to Oklahoma.
I mean, I get them, but don't do that.
There's not a lot
You
of
see what
reason.
you're making me do?
I'm making you go to Oklahoma. Good Lord.
That's a little.
Then I have
rough.
to sing that song from the musical.
Oh yeah.
When
Notice that's the
please-
only Oklahoma song that there is.
There is
Like if
only
you have
the
to
one
think,
song.
like if you think of Texas,
One too many, in my opinion.
There's a gazillion
Yeah, there is.
songs,
But
right?
there's another one. What is it? You're the reason God made Oklahoma, or something like
Ugh.
that. That's
Yeah.
the one.
What about
country
Okie
song
from
they have.
Muskogee?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So we've come up with two. Now let's name Texas one.
Yeah, right.
A million.
Well, you got to love just the opening line of any song where "Doom, chicka, doom, chicka, doom, chick. We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee." Like that's the opening line of the song. It's like wow. Yeah.
No chance he wasn't high when he wrote that.
No
no
chance
chance.
Zero.
No chance.
of any. Yeah,
That's what we call an ironic opening.
ironic. Yeah. Well, it sure has been fun having you on the show. We obviously love your whiskeys, but it's always fun hanging out with you, and thank you for that.
Always a good time.
Yeah. So, Still Austin, find them at Total Wines everywhere or all over the place.
Spec Twins,
You're
yeah.
in my specs. I find you guys there all the time. It's awesome. These guys are making great whiskey and showing why Texas whiskey is, in fact, on the rise everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So, Ian, what do we got coming up next week? What are we doing?
Man, coming up next week, I wish you to give me a slight heads up on that.
Well, when you hear that closing music, it's probably going to happen.
You would think I would know this by now.
You're
but
now me with the alligator line.
yes, now I'm just doing that. Oh, let's see.
Ian's just
Next
gonna-
week
next
to
week,
find
I
out.
had to take my gator to the vet.
Next week we may be pairing wine with cigars.
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
That'll be fun. And
All
if
right.
not, we'll be by ourselves. And the week after that, we got Danielle Gray from Angels Envy coming on.
Fun
That's going to be
times.
pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
We got a front porch episode coming up.
Awesome.
So,
So
yeah.
a lot to look forward to. Thank you guys for being here for Smoking and Toasting. Our music, by the way, for Beverage Mystery is called The Visitor. It's by Shane Ivers. Check him out at chosic.com. Have a great week. Enjoy what you're drinking. We'll see you next time. And cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
There she goes,